felt a lot safer and more protected against coronavirus there than I do here in some situations. Forms and check. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, what airport did you fly into, and how was it handled at arrival in Stansted Airport, where you came in?
I arrived back. I flew from Alicante back into Stansted yesterday. I'd already had to fill in a form on the government website before flying back, and that was even before the new rules were brought in, just giving contact details and address, where I'd be staying for the first 14 days of arriving back in the UK. The same had happened on the way to Spain, although when I arrived in Spain, that was being checked. That form was being checked by a special team. However, coming through Stansted yesterday, no one checked that or asked to see that form. But I realise that doesn't mean to say it's not being logged elsewhere.
Right. Did you go through the e-gates, or did you actually speak to a real person?
I went through the e-gates, but people were they sometimes don't work, do they? So sometimes you get.
What does this mean now? So you're locked indoors, are you, for 2 weeks?
I am, yes. I'm currently sitting in my front room talking to you because this is where I have to stay now for 14 days.
And are we going to be paying you for 2 weeks, just sitting there?
I don't know.
I think you'll find we are. I think you'll find the government. Was that the first time you've seen Mum and Dad since lockdown?
Yeah, since Christmas. So I usually go about 5 times a year, even if it's just for a weekend or something. So I've been desperate to see them. And now this has happened, so I don't know when I can go back now again.
Just tell Dad he's going to give you 2 weeks' pay.
Okay, I'll let him know.
We're going to get through it. Charlotte, good speaking. Look after yourself. I'm sure you're well. LBC reporter Charlotte Sullivan, who was caught, sadly, just coming in a bit too late through Stansted. If you are caught up in this, and let's face it, even if you're not going to Spain, you'll now have concerns about other parts of Europe. In other parts of the world you can't even get to. We will continue that conversation. Also, in other news, farewell to possibly the last star of Hollywood's golden age. She made 104, Olivia de Havilland, who of course appeared on With the Wind.
I have to look again. Oh no, that wouldn't be it. Good night, Miss Wilkes. Good night, Miss Wadley.
7:15 LBC News headlines with Simon Conway.
The travel industry is concerned that the new quarantine rules for those returning from Spain could see people cancel their trips to other parts of Europe. A ban on buy one get one free promotions on unhealthy products is set to form part of the government's obesity strategy, and Ryanair says it lost £168 million in the last quarter. The weather windy with rain in places today, a high of 22 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne. We're very slow on the M25 clockwise between junction 5 at the M26 and the Clackett Lane services, and that's because of the roadworks. In Eltham, the South Circular Road is closed westbound between the A2 and the Yorkshire Grey roundabout because of a burst water main, and also because of a burst water main, one lane is closed on the A40 eastbound between the Medway underpass and Alberton Lane, and there are now queues of about 20 minutes from the Target roundabout. In South Norwood, Long Lane stays closed both ways, and on the train, Southeastern services can't run via Hither Green for emergency works.
This is LBC.
Please wear a face covering when shopping at Sainsbury's. Thank you for helping us keep our customers and colleagues safe. Sainsbury's.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
The coronavirus hasn't gone away, and we're still being asked to continue to take necessary precautions. This includes wearing a face covering in enclosed public spaces, such as shops and public transport. TrustedPPE.co.uk has supplied millions of items to key frontline workers and can now supply certified filtering face masks and hand sanitizers direct to the public. Order before 4 p.m. weekdays for next day delivery from trustedppe.co.uk.
Peoples of the UK, if you can't come to pizza, pizza must come to you. Sergey, what have we got today?
Margaritas.
Sergey, we have drinks later. I mean, what kind of pizza? Meerkat Meals now give you 50% off pizzas at Papa John's and Pizza Hut delivery. All week, delivery or collection. Only with the Meerkat app from Compares the Market.
Qualifying purchase, geographical restrictions apply. 50% off pizza with participating outlets 7 days a week. £30 minimum spend pre-discount. Order via the app with your membership. T's and C's apply.
The amazing Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus 5G on Vodafone's Unlimited Max is now just £67 per month and £29 up front. That's our fastest unlimited data plan with 5G at our lowest ever price. And claim free Galaxy Buds Plus worth £159. Keep connecting on the UK's best mobile data network. Ready? Vodafone.
Ends 30th of July, 24-month plans. 25 gigabytes roam figures, 5G subject to coverage.
your whole company's IT infrastructure with instant user support and remote installations. Right now, get 50% off our premium service until the end of March 2021. Visit 360ict.co.uk.
As shops open up again, how do we all stay safe? Fontaine runs a craft store.
We've made the shop COVID safe. If you can't keep 2 meters apart, make sure it's 1 meter with extra precautions. Know the number of customers allowed in at any one time. Use the hand sanitizer at the entrance and use contactless payments. I'm loving serving customers again, but please, to keep us open, we've all got to keep to the guidelines.
Stay alert, control the virus, save lives. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:21, come to your reactions in a moment. The chaos that you find yourselves over these holidays. The front pages of the newspapers quickly as well. Pretty much it's holidays or it's Harry, really, or health, I suppose I should say. For the Daily Mail, it's Harry, and I think they do. This is, of course, the book that was serialised across the weekend, a lot of it in the Sunday Times. Okay, the first 13 pages are on Prince Harry at the Daily Mail. No way back for Harry and Meghan. The bombshell book lays bare their bitter rift. We will be looking at that in more detail later in the show. That story is also the front page of The Sun. Charles crushed by Harry. This is dad. Supposedly he was blindsided. He was on a tour elsewhere in the world when Harry put out a statement way back now concerning his relationship with Meghan, so that's pretty ugly. Holidays is, as I say, the other big story for the Daily Mirror. Holiday hell for millions of Brits. For the Times, holidays in turmoil as quarantine is imposed. Government stands firm on changes to travel rules. That's a bit of a sloppy one, come on. The pain in Spain is for metro. Tourists face more handbrake restrictions, is the Guardian. And the Daily Express, millions facing holiday chaos. They have a picture of Prime Minister Boris Johnson walking his dog as part of his mission to win war on obesity. And indeed, that is that story. There's the same pictures on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. It's their lead story. Lose £5 in weight and save the NHS £100 million in cash. This is actually coming from Mr Johnson's colleague, Health Secretary Brett Hancock, who has declared that coronavirus is the deadly wake-up call that this nation needs to tackle obesity. Various measures are going to be brought in. In fact, we'll explore that in just a moment with a guest, and I'll tell you in more detail, but all sorts of things as regards to what you can get in the stores, labelling of both food and alcohol and GP prescriptions. So let's just take a minute though to say what you're saying about holidays. Tony says the EU and the UK rely on tourism. The industry will be decimated. Airlines will go bust. Nobody's going to risk going abroad now. This from David Islandler. Is it really too much to ask people stay in their own country for 1 year for their holidays? And Jen, can someone find out why reporting of infection rate and death numbers in England appears to have stopped? It's impossible to assess personal risk, but I can't give you the actual number, but I can tell you that we are, and you can hear me turning the pages of the paper, we are relatively in a good place as regards other countries. In the United Kingdom, we find ourselves total cases since July 20th between 4,000 and 6,000, which puts us on a par with France and I was going to say Northern Ireland, of course, that's probably United Kingdom. So that's France, which I have to say is not as good as Ireland or Germany or other parts, or indeed Portugal. So we're okay, but perhaps not as good as others. We'll come back to that conversation. So let's come back to other health matters, which is this idea that GPs will prescribe overweight patients with Weight Watcher diet plans. This is part of an operation to tackle obesity. The government will ban junk food ads before the 9 p.m. watershed on TV. Remember we talked about this last week, and now they've gone ahead with it. They're consulting on plans to ban it outright online. The buy one get one free offers will stop. Prominent displays in supermarkets will be banned. All cafes, restaurants and takeaways that are part of chains employing more than 250 people must put calorie counts on their menus. The government will consult on calorie labelling on alcoholic drinks as well. Dr. Azim Malhotra is a cardiologist and professor of evidence-based medicine and joins me now. Professor, this is all rather nanny state, isn't it? Should we have some individual responsibility? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. If individual responsibility works, Nick, we wouldn't have the problem we're in at the moment. And the reason it hasn't worked is because really the obesity problem is rooted in the food environment. It's affected everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter what background you come from. The nation is overweight, obese, suffering from all these chronic diseases. Doctors and nurses, more than 50% of doctors and nurses, this doesn't get discussed enough, have problems with their weight because it's in a food environment problem. In hospitals, 75% of the food that's being purchased in hospitals that's available is unhealthy. So that is really the major issue. And I think what the government are doing certainly is, these are steps in the right direction. Certainly acknowledging that this is what the issue is will, I have no doubt will start to have an impact on this problem of really processed food.
If someone loves chicken and chips and fizzy drinks, you honestly think stopping 2 for 1 or buy one get one free is going to make any difference, Professor?
On its own, Nick, probably not. But I think as a combination of measures it would. And the reason I say this is I think we've got this great lesson of history of how we actually consumption or the tobacco consumption and smoking. So you're probably aware of this, Nick, and if you go back, it's quite shocking to think about it now. You go back to the 50s and 60s, more than half the population was smoking then, more than half. And the way we managed to curb that ultimately wasn't about just education and personal responsibility. It was actually regulating the tobacco industry. So it was things like, taxes on cigarettes raising the price. It was public smoking bans. It was banning the association of cigarettes with sport. I mean, I remember I grew up as a kid, a very avid cricket player. I loved cricket, very passionate. I used to watch test matches. Remember who sponsored those test matches?
Was it Benson and Hedges? Was it Benson?
Absolutely. Yeah. So actually, when you look over the science of what happened in the population, it was only when those measures addressing affordability, acceptability, and availability of cigarettes productivity because of sickness, and that's.
Do you mean they don't turn up for the month, or they're just slow?
They take sick leave.
They take 4 weeks sick leave each year.
A month person per year.
Or 5?
A month, and it's costing the UK about £91 billion.
That's me.
And most of it is driven by lifestyle diseases and nutritionism as well.
Grateful for your time. Always to speak here, Asim. Thank you. Cricket's loss is medicine's benefit. Dr. Asim Malhotra is a cardiologist and professor of evidence-based medicine. 7:27 is the time. We might return to that. You honestly going to tell me now, if you're hooked on chicken and chips, or whatever it might be, or you go to the supermarket, but you really know you can't buy one get one free, so they're going to get trimmed. I don't know. Give me your views on that. Let's mark the passing of, although one has to say at times like this, 104 is a tremendous age, but arguably one of the last stars from the golden age of Hollywood. So farewell, Olivia de Havilland.
Somebody will recognize this carriage if I stayed any longer. That wouldn't do you no good. And Miss Wilkes, if you ever see me on the street, you don't have to speak to me. I'll understand. I should be proud to speak to you. Proud to be under obligation to you. I hope we meet again. Oh no, that wouldn't do. Good night, Miss Wilkes. Good night, Miss Warren.
Why do I feel like it's Christmas? I don't know, just with that. I just suddenly feel it's Christmas. There's this awful fire crackling in the hearth and Christmas trees and Christmas cards. Anyway, but Olivia de Havilland, their career spanning more than half a century, almost 50 films, the last surviving star from Gone with the Wind, and we played you a piece there. The film earned her one of her 5 Oscar nominations. She was successful. Let's turn to Richard Fitzwilliams, who's a film critic, was editor of International Who's Who, and I understand you knew her. Richard, how old are you?
Indeed, in fact, in 1976, when I took over the editorship of the International Who's Who, I was horrified to see that for some reason she wasn't in the volume, and sent her before expecting it not to be returned, because obviously, I mean, it was quite ridiculous. And I got an absolutely enchanting letter back. She was a blind letter writer, and subsequently we communicated a great deal, and I used to visit her when I went to Paris, and she was absolutely enchanting. You could almost say that as you moved to Paris in 1953, she was America's unofficial ambassador there. She was someone who had
those rowing royals after the news. Here's Harry, the Duke of Sussex, speaking with ITV last year, saying he doesn't want his mother's history to repeat itself with Meghan.
I will always protect my family, and now I have a family to protect. Everything that she went through and what happened to her is incredibly raw every single day, and that's not me being paranoid, that's just me not wanting a repeat of the past.
Falling out with your brother and your father in such spectacular style? I don't know. We'll look at that later on. This is Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. The 7:30 news is with Simon Conway.
The travel industry is concerned the new quarantine rules for those returning from Spain could see people cancel their trips to other parts of Europe this summer. People coming back to the UK from the country will have to self-isolate for 14 days due to a rise in coronavirus cases there. Boris Johnson's due to reveal plans to ban unhealthy food from being displayed at the checkouts in shops. His obesity strategy will also include a ban on junk food adverts on TV before 9 p.m. A 17-year-old boy has died after being stabbed during a fight in Manchester. 3 other people were also injured during the altercation in the Rusholme area last night. 1 boy has been arrested. The weather windy with rain, which will be heavy at times. It'll be most persistent for Scotland. Some brighter and warmer spells developing elsewhere. Later, a high of 22 degrees.
This is LBC.
Moneypenny receptionists answer and transfer calls remotely, professionally, brilliantly, and economically. Moneypenny.
Here's the thing about block management. If you do it yourself, you're over here sorting out the insurance, and here keeping everything compliant. Don't forget the grounds maintenance and the service charges. And that's just what you need to do today. But because the ABC Estates block management team can look after every aspect of your property portfolio, from repairs to service charge collection,
jargon-free with no hidden fees, so you know you're on track.
Daddy, this is just like being at the seaside.
Be pension confident. Download the app or visit pensionbee.com to sign up.
authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Capital at risk. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
More on the holiday hell for many, and more on this crackdown on obesity as well. We'll take your calls on that. Nick, you'll be the first call. That's after we dive into the world of finance and business and bring into the conversation from Aquis Exchange, David Buick. And actually, our first point that we're going to look at has a theme with the holidays as well, because Ryanair and their losses. David, good morning.
Good morning to you, Nick. Yes, they were fairly substantial, 185 million euros. I think the standout figure was, of course, the air traffic fell by 99% during lockdown. Obviously, it was described by...
What was the 1%? Where was anybody going? I don't know.
Cork to Dublin? I don't know.
Yeah, one flight was still going, yeah.
But no, worst of its 35-year history. Shares were actually down about 30% during the course of the year, from 14 euros down to about 10 euros. one hopes that we don't get too many of what's happening to IAG and also to, which includes obviously British Airways and Iberian Airways, doesn't happen to them, because this is a serious setback for the travel industry.
It is indeed. Serious problems with the high street as well.
Well, there are a number of problems with the high street. I mean, we've seen problems as regards rates having to go. We've seen problems as regards the number of redundancies that are going. And now, of course, we're going to have to attack the situation as regards hotels, where there are a number of people, IHG, Millennium Cockthorne, and also, of course, Merit, and we're likely to see, so adding them together, something like 4,000 people redundancy packages going out in the next few weeks. Also, bring into account Rishi Sunak's package on online sales. Now, what he's suggesting is potentially a 2% tax, which could bring in £2 billion a year. Consumer delivering is also another one being suggested in terms of charging people for having it delivered. The problem with this, Nick, is that of course that it could be inflationary, and there's no question of any doubt about it that they do not want to have any inflation coming in this time as well. I'm not certain that that amount really drives that sort of business, but it is a problem. And obviously we've seen a rateable value see income coming down by literally 25%, £10 billion, and that's got to be addressed as well.
Quick word on another set. This is a grim tale of woe this morning. Another set to the movie, or Cineworld.
Yeah, Cineworld, I think they've been struck with a huge amount of bad luck, because I think they had a great idea, which was trying to, because the margins in this business are very, very small. And in 2018, they bought the US chain Regal, which they paid $3.4 billion. And the business was doing extremely well. And then there were plans to buy, if you remember, Cineplex, which is, of course, for another $1.1 billion, which they were going to buy off the United States, buy off Canada. And obviously, when the pandemic came up, there was a change of heart. So obviously, the legal writs are flying around the place. And we understand that each other are going to be suing each other for amounts around $1.2 billion. The problem with this, Nick, has been the debt situation, which has risen from $2.3 billion as far as Cineworld's concerned to $2.8 billion. Hoping to open cinemas up in August, but absolutely no guarantee. And then, of course, you hear, as we spoke last week about Disney cancelling Avatar and Mulan and others, not a good situation. Shares have fallen 80% since the start of the year. Gracious me, we need these cinemas to open PDQ.
David Bewitt from Aquis Exchange, thank you.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Come to another key economics conversation in a moment. The idea that it could take around 5 years for a key measure of UK's economy to get back to where it was. We'll look at that in more detail concerning GDP, or gross domestic product. But let's just pick up on a conversation Nick in Barnsley have been holding on the line for some time now. Boris Johnson's war on obesity. What do you make of it? What do you see as the way forward to this? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yeah, the only way I can see is if they want to stop obesity, they need to make healthier foods cheaper and the fast foods and all the junk foods.
What sort of
dearer.
What do you want to be cheaper?
Well, I mean, as for salad's quite cheap anyway.
It is. Well, there we are.
But when you go and you want to buy like healthier options, you can make, say you want to get, I don't know, some cheaper, healthier meats or something, but they're always so dear.
Well, they're not. With respect, you can get a packet of I don't know how many people in your family. You get a couple of chicken breasts for about 2 or 3 quid. Slice them up, throw them in a pan, job's a good one. Bit of garlic, boom, done. Happy days.
Yeah, but a lot of people haven't. I mean, me, yeah, I do make healthier stuff at home. I do, but a lot of people who are going to lose their jobs as well.
Right.
A lot of them can't afford these sort of like more healthier.
Well, they can because
I know they can afford
because they're buying ready meals that are far more expensive than actually buying the, and they're too lazy. They're lazy, indolent, and fat.
Yeah, there is that in food, but there is also apart from the food. Then there's another way the government can help obesity with the children.
Oh well, no, I'll tell you what the solution is. There is they shouldn't have taken away the playing fields. Every child should run around the school playground.
They should pay more money to schools, because when I was at school, and I spent when you was at school, we used to have PE about 4 or 5 times a week. Every day we had PE. When my kids was at school, which they've just left, they was having it like once or twice a week.
Ludicrous. But did they have any playing fields, Nick? Were there any playing fields at your children?
They
Actually,
had playing
you're
fields, but not like what we used to do, like cross country, athletic.
Mind you, I don't think they let us. The cross country, we used to go running through the woods, and there were occasionally strange people, genuinely. And the master used to say, well, oh, listen, if there's anybody, any men, just, you know, you can cut the corner of the... I don't think we'd be allowed to do it, our children, quite rightly. Nick, thank you for that. And you're right. It seems a terrible, terrible shame that so many governments have pursued the policy of selling off school playing fields. Should we look at other matters? Talk about governments, God, you wouldn't want to be in their shoes, would you? It could take 5 years for GDP, gross domestic product, to get back to where it was before the onset of coronavirus, according to new figures. Experts at the Big Four consultancy EY said that GDP will remain where it was. They believe